are the host, as I've said before several times.
And don't you forget it.
Oh, I haven't.
Okay, here's another episode of the Master Toons Podcast with me, your host, Jack Hayward, and only two other people on the show tonight for some strange reason. Might be a quiet one, eh, boys? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes.
Podcast is
it's gonna be quiet. It's gonna be fun. Quiet but fun.
Yeah, this podcast is a bit of a sausage fest.
However,
creepy, unknown fun.
yeah, but I reckon the audio will be very clean this week.
Yeah.
Because last week, Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah, seriously, it was awful. Not to say what we talked about was awful, it's just that everyone was like, we had over 8 people in the same room, and I had to drop out a couple of times to balance out the audio clips, but I think now it'll be a lot more cleaner than our other ones.
Yeah, it was like having 4 Sylvias in one show. Like, just with the background noise, not...
Yeah.
Okay, so, on today's agenda, we have some fantastic 4-story shit. We're going to talk about the trailer for Strange Magic. That's George Lucas's next big film. A really stupid article by The Verge about how superheroes aren't actually good guys. They just punch bad guys or something dumb like that. Something ridiculous. Yeah. And Howard the Duck has officially made a comeback. Ooh! I'm sure.
Oh, and we have the trailer for the new Peanuts, Blue Sky's upcoming Peanuts movie, and movie of the week, which this week, continuing our superhero month, is Planet
Did
Hulk.
You just say penis?
I did.
Okay. My dad made a penis movie once.
I read Peanuts. If I said penis, I'm so sorry to our listeners. Let's begin.
All right, so I think just to start, we should do. Let's do Strange Magic, yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
I know nothing about this movie. Do you?
I know some stuff, but Ryuga, you're quite the expert in these sorts of things.
Well, I did from what I've been told. When I actually watched the trailer first before I got the background of it, and when I first watched it, I was like giving myself a facepalm because this is like another one of those fairy tale stories where the focus is more on the comedic elements of the fairy tale rather than being something that's serious. That's been done before with let's say with Frozen. No, not Frozen. What's that before Frozen? Tangle or Shrek and Hoodwink, among other things. And then all of a sudden, when I looked up more information, it turned out that Strange Magic, which is the latest film by George Lucas, and if I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, this could be Lucas's first animated movie, done in CG. Is actually based on Shakespeare's *Midsummer Night's Dream*, and then it said, it's based on the *Midsummer Night's Dream*, and I really forgot much of the story, but I have seen several stage play versions of it, and it's quite a very funny piece when it's portrayed. And it's basically about these two forces, the good side and the evil side, the good fairies and the bad fairies, who are just minding their own business until some sort of love potion pops up, and then all of a sudden these two forces suddenly started clashing, but in ways nobody expected it. So that's why we get to see all these jokes, even coming from the bad guys. Even the trailer suggests that made the mention that even the bad guys need a little magic, meaning that the bad guy here really isn't a bad guy after all. He's just the guy on the different side. Then everybody got everything in common. So knowing that this is it is based on a Shakespeare piece, and it's also a comedy piece. So I pretty much get it.
There's also a song called Strange Magic by the Electric Light Orchestra. I wonder if that's related. Probably not.
Other thing I could find is that Lucas was actually working on this movie long before Disney acquired Lucasfilms. And shortly after that, Lucas and his team did pitch out the movie to Disney, despite the fact that their studio is nothing like their Disney Studios or Pixar. But Disney, the guys at Disney did give it a green light, and so this is the result, guys.
I thought the trailer was awful. Yeah, go on, George.
I'm sorry, Yoga, you lost me at the fact that this possible pile of shit is based on Shakespeare. I'm not joking. I'm sorry. This is based on Shakespeare.
Actually, you saying that, yeah.
Specifically, A Midsummer's Night's Dream. It's not Hamlet. It's not Romeo and Juliet. It's not Macbeth. It's not a tragedy. It is based on one of Shakespeare's comedies, which is of all things, The Midsummer Night's Dream. So
yeah, but still the point stands. This is based on a Shakespeare play, arguably the greatest writer of all time. And what we got from this pile of shit trailer was epic meets Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, perfect.
Which is exactly what it is. It is epic meets Romeo and Juliet.
I said Romeo, not Romeo.
I tell you what. I tell you the main problem. Like, maybe the film is amazing.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like the perfect Shakespeare adaptation. But the trailer itself is incoherent, not funny, and just awkward.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I had no idea what the story was. I had no idea who this character was, who's supposed to be good, who's supposed to be evil, what the plot was. The whole love potion thing that you just said, Ryoga, I didn't see that at all in there.
Yeah, and that was the one thing like I said, when I first watched it, that was the one thing I was confused and disappointed about. It wasn't until I actually read about the film, the trailer, that I found out that it was based on A Midsummer Night's Dream. And frankly, for some reason, I don't know if Disney is the one who's distributing this or Lucas's own company, but that said,
his own company.
LucasArts is teaming up with Disney's other company, Touchstone, to produce this pile of shit. Possibly, again, it's like I said, it's epic meets Romeo and Juliet. I'm not saying Romeo and Juliet. I'm talking about the very obscure movie that came out back in February
awful. Which
was Romeo and Juliet, but with garden gnomes.
Yeah.
Honestly, I watched it on Netflix. It was tolerable at best. It wasn't like the worst thing ever, but it was all right.
And it's supposed to be a musical as well, and like there's one song just randomly in it, and there's like a woman fairy that's singing the door.
There's the scene there where I forgot the girl's name, who was the protagonist, and her sister was kidnapped by the bad guy. And when she went to the bad guy's place, they were opening the cage where her sister was in, and for some strange reason, she's singing a pop song. It's like, forget it, I'll just lock her there. Like, you sure? So, yeah, we'll do something else. Like, kind of like that. It's almost like the kind of humor you would see in 4chan, in a way.
Yeah. It just. It's a really badly made trailer, actually.
Exactly. I haven't seen a trailer this badly made since probably the ones for Frozen, and that's saying a lot because if you've seen those trailers, good fucking god. But seriously, what the fuck? I mean, I told you guys I wouldn't be so angry about this, but oh my god, thinking about it more and more.
Like
this is getting.
That's something I don't normally notice. I don't know if you noticed it as well. The editing in the actual trailer is really bad.
Seriously. I'm one who I'm not trying to brag or anything, or stuff like that, but I actually pay a lot of attention because this kind of stuff like editing and stuff. Yeah, I do agree. This was really badly edited, and literally the only decent element of this movie was probably the texturing on the animation. But even then, the animation...
I didn't even notice the animation, to be honest.
It's really weird. The artwork...
I really didn't like the artwork that much. I think the artwork is almost in the same style as the Clone Wars. Star Wars: The Clone Wars TV series, which I wasn't really a fan of in the first place. So the artwork, the not the artwork, the character design here is really not my cup of tea.
Yeah, and why I said it's weird is because it looks like high budget style animation, particularly in the texturing on the character designs and some of the backgrounds. But the way it moves and the way it looks and the way it acts, it looks like Arthur and the Invisibles.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know about this, Arthur and the... Oh, who am I kidding? No one gives a shit about this.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I think we've talked about this film enough.
Yeah, let's just...
Coming out 2015.
Yeah, January. Oh, I'm gonna bring this up. Of course it looks like shit. It's a January movie. Seriously, name one good January movie. Exactly.
Yeah, that's actually quite... Yeah. I agree with that. Alright, so moving on.
Yeah, move on.
Fantastic Four. So, in case you don't know, the plot of the movie has been leaked by someone on 4chan who claimed they worked at Fox Studio and they looked at the script or something. So the brief overview is, I mean, a lot of this is actually confirmed, but about half of this has been officially confirmed. So the alternate origin story, so instead of them going to space, it's something to do with a portal or some bullshit. Victor Von Doom isn't the owner of the company. He's an
He's not Victor Von Doom. He's Victor Dormashev.
Yeah, Victor Dormashev, who is an antisocial...
I'm sorry. Wait.
Yeah?
Victor Dormashev?
They're trying to make it gritty and realistic.
Okay, just fill in for you guys. Let me just, and for our viewers and for our listeners here. For those who don't pay too much attention with the reboot, and I don't see a reason why you should. One of the major changes to this movie, aside from Michael J. Jordan or Michael B. Jordan, whatever his name was, as the Human Torch, is that the character of Doctor Doom, Victor Von Doom, who we know in both in the comics and in the first Fantastic Four movie, actually is a ruler of a country called Latveria. In this version, he doesn't rule any kind of country, but is just a antisocial blogger from Eastern Europe and his real name is not Victor Von Doom, it's Victor Dormashev. But when he goes online, he uses the nickname Doom. So, go on, Jack.
Yeah, I think the angle they're going for with this is kind of in light of all these hackers and leakers, WikiLeaks, like, Edward Snowden and what's it called, like Laurent.
Right. Oh, I completely forgot one thing. It also another major change is in the comics and in the original and in the first film, Reed Richards was a scientific genius from the start. Here, he's just a store clerk. Yeah.
So, going on about some of the other changes. So Reed invites Ben, Sue, and Johnny to look at the machine, and Doom hacks the machine and it blows up, and that gives them their powers, right? Blah, blah, blah. They make their suits, they train, blah, 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 blah. Ben can somehow switch his power on and off. Kind of going with the trend, being able to get the actors underneath, like how Captain America takes his helmet off quite a lot, and so does Iron Man, so on and so forth. Doom finds out they've got powers, so he comes up with a plan to rebuild the machine, reprogram some military drones, Doombots to attack the building. Then that's where the four come together for the first time. He's trying to obtain the same power as them, and he does, and he gets the powers.
So he's going to rebuild Oh, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
To get the powers
like a
from
freak
sex.
accident like that. Yeah, you rebuild a machine like that and you blow it up again, and of course you get powers. It's not like you're going to be splattered all over the room.
Yeah.
Or shit, or spread out across 8 different dimensions or something like that. What the fuck is this portal, by the way?
It's to the end zone, which maybe Rogue
The negative
on
zone.
it. It's negative zone. Yeah. I think they use it to lock people up or something. Rogue, maybe you could expand on it.
Yes, the negative zone. It's actually heavily featured even in the in Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes a few years ago by Sony, and it is basically a super prison for various supervillains who are what you call Omega level, meaning these are the kinds of villains that are world destroying. So rather than taken to a place like Riker's Island, where many of the prisoners are Marvel villains are imprisoned, they are taken instead to the negative zone.
Hi.
Sylvia has chosen to join us.
Yay.
All right.
Okay, Jack. Go on.
So after a fashion, they fight Doom, and then they knock him into the end zone, and then he gets trapped there and explodes, and then Ben soaks to him. He basically can't turn back after some bullshit, and then that's it. That sounds fucking terrible. I don't know about you guys.
I'm sorry. Listeners, if you're offended by what I'm about to say, I'm sorry. This has to be the most retarded storyline I have ever heard in my life. I'm not joking.
It sounds...
Oh my god! Where do I begin? Okay.
There's got to be more to it than this.
First of all, how does a store clerk build a machine? Like, he doesn't say like he's a smart store clerk. He's just a store clerk. How does it? Why would he have a machine in his basement or wherever the shit? And the fucking Doctor Doom shit. Oh my god, where do I fucking begin with Doctor Doom? Oh god, I haven't heard something that incredibly stupid in years. And keep in mind, I've seen a lot of stupid shit this year. Oh my god. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Well, it's saying, hold on a minute, Storm has a son, Johnny, and an adoptive daughter, Sue. Okay, so Sue's gonna be the adopted one.
Yes.
Okay.
We know in the original that that Sue and Johnny are actually siblings by blood, and that Sue is let me just give you guys some background on the origins of the first Fantastic Four. For those who aren't that too familiar with it, since Fantastic Four isn't as much of a big name now as the X-Men or the Avengers. In the original, Reed Richards was a super genius who invited his fiancée, Sue, who is also a fellow scientist, to venture into space to study the comet, during that time it was the space race, during the 60s. And tagging along with them is Johnny, which is Sue's sibling, and of course Ben Grimm, who is a friend of the Storms. And during their trip to observe the comet, they got hit by a cosmic ray, which thanks to that accident, they each gained their powers. So Reed becomes Mr. Fantastic, who is able to extend himself. Sue becomes the Invisible Girl. Johnny becomes the Human Torch, and of course Ben, being the guy who became this big solid rock permanently, becomes the Thing.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, we've already talked about the leaked screenshots, and it looks like shit. Like, literally shit.
Yeah.
Ben is a giant turd mound.
Yeah, Tintin is going to be a giant turd, basically.
And Doom is just covered in dog shit bags.
Doom was a hybrid of Skeletor and Groot, basically, as I said in that podcast from a couple of months ago.
And from the way the script is described. Now we cannot confirm whether this script is legitimate. It could be somebody just made it up. Again, it's coming from 4chan, but so take it with a grain of salt. That said, the script almost suggests that Reed, the Storms, and Ben, although they'll eventually become a team at the very end, they don't act like family at all, which is the defining characteristic of the Fantastic Four, is that these four characters, despite their differences, do act like as they are family, which makes them unique.
Yeah.
And this one is anything but a family. The only family about it is the Storms, but that's about it.
Yeah, taking a comic that was originally about family and just completely removing the family aspect makes perfect sense. I'm sorry, who's the fucking writer of this possible Pyro shit?
I'm not sure. Do you want to check quickly?
Sure. Not sure.
Oh,
we
sure.
don't know who's. I don't know who's actually penning the script. And like I said, we don't even know this is legitimate, and we don't know if that's the final script. Because
Tommy
I recall.
Wiseau.
Just going about a bit off topic, I do recall in probably about a month or in the weeks leading up to the Godzilla movie this year, there were several scripts that were leaked out. But when the final film came out, it turns out all the scripts were just drafts, and none of them made it to the final cut. So I can expect the same thing with this movie, whether that this script may not be final or may actually be fake, and the movie may turn out slightly different. What is definitely certain are two things, which is one, Johnny Storm is black, and Sue's the adopted one. I hate saying that, but bear with me here. And second is, of course, Doctor Doom not being a ruler of some country, but just this anti-social blogger. There's actually a term for that. I think it's called hikikomori in Japan. Something that I could be wrong, of course, but in a similar case. That's about it.
Oh shit.
Okay. Just gonna get some information on this. Bear with me.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. 2015. It's scheduled for next year? Really?
Apparently
I thought it was like in 2000. Okay. I got the writer. I'm looking up the other writers real quick. I'm not sure if it credits. Simon Kinbrick.
Yeah. What's he done?
The fuck? I'm looking up right now.
See, Josh Trank directed Chronicle, which I actually sort of liked.
Yeah, I did too.
But it was a very...
Holy fuck!
Yeah?
This guy actually... this is the same guy who wrote the screenplay for X-Men Days of Future Past and the creator of Star Wars Rebels.
Wow, okay. See...
and he also... and he also wrote the Sherlock Holmes movie with Robert Downey Jr.
See, in the this 4chan report of the story, I mean, it seems to be correct. Like a lot of the again, like I said, like the first half has been officially confirmed, so it's not going to surprise me if the rest of it is. Yeah. It just seems to lack story. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
If they're going to fill it up with a character interaction or something, but it just looks shit. I mean, like Carson, he's not on the show, but he's just commented about what he thinks. It's gonna be fucking epic, mate. But he's actually looking forward to it. He says it's disappointing that Reed won't be stretchy according to report, but otherwise it sounds like a good movie. I don't know where he got that stretchy thing from. Like, if he can't stretch, what can he do?
I don't know, really. I don't give a shit about Fantastic Four.
He can't just be smart. He can't just be smart.
Yeah, he can't just have super smart. Well, one, it can literally catch on fire and fly. One can turn into a giant hulking rock beast, and one can turn invisible. That's just bullshit.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot. Oh, I know what that scenario just reminded me of. That episode of Jimmy Neutron where it parodies the Fantastic Four.
I haven't seen that one.
Oh, it's I forget what it was called. Well, anyway, it reminded me of that, like what I just said.
Okay. I think there's no more to say on this topic. Carson just said the Reed Sue stuff sounds a little cliche, but otherwise seems grounded and not depressing like some other realistic superhero films. He also says the actors and director is very talented. That is true.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I mean, Josh Trank is a very talented director in my opinion, and same with the cast is actually pretty decent.
Yeah, I mean,
unless they actually, okay, like you said, Ryoga, like you said with Godzilla and how the drafts were out leaked, and then it turns out the final product was given the final script. Maybe that's the same case with this, but that doesn't really reach my hopes because the writing in Godzilla was some of the worst I've ever seen. So yeah, you just made me lose more and more faith into this project. Thanks.
I don't know. I've seen plenty of films and such that have looked retarded, but have actually turned out all right. So that's basically it. Fantastic Four coming out in cinemas next year. Save the date. Okay.
No.
Let's move on to
Peanuts trailer.
Peanuts trailer. Yeah. So we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Some of the concept.
I am.
A bit of the teaser.
I'm back.
Sylvia's joining us now.
Hi.
So I watched it.
I did too.
It didn't really tell me anything about the movie, like plot or anything. Yeah. Apart from Charlie Brown, his big head gets in the way of people watching a movie. And the little dog thing flying around.
I actually
Snoopy.
Do you never read the Peanuts, or do you never ever watch a Snoopy cartoon ever before?
Some of them.
No, like it's not really like a big thing in Britain. Charlie Brown.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, not for my generation.
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
Can I?
Okay, George, you can go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was going to bring up. The reason why I brought up this topic is because I prepared for talking about this because I've been really excited to talk about this. Sorry, bad speaking. I've been excited to talk about this for a while now, and I wanted to bring it up. Yeah, I do agree that they should have shown a little bit more of what the actual plot was going with. But I think it was I think Paul Feig, who was one of the producers of this movie, said in an interview what the basic plot was going to be. I forget what it was, but I think you or Carson could link it in the description. But I really, I'm not like the massive. I'm not a massive Peanuts fan by any means. I grew up with Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown. I watched it like that was like my religious film growing up. No joke. I'm not kidding. Like I used to watch that constantly. My thoughts on this trailer. Yeah, I do agree. It doesn't show, like I've been saying, it doesn't show a lot of the story. But in terms of animation,
that might be a good thing.
In terms of animation, holy fucking hell! Oh my god, where do I?
It looks good, does it?
Oh, good is an understatement. This is some of the best animation I've seen in ever. And I know it's just a teaser trailer, but if this is going to be in the actual final film, it's going to be one of the most breathtaking looking animated movies of the last decade. And part of why I think I really appreciate this art style, the way you're looking for it, is one of the things I brought up a couple of weeks ago when we talked about some of the concept art footage, was because I love the way they're playing it with a 2D background. And even though there's a bit in this is something I really want to tell you guys, and I don't think you guys noticed this. And just to show you how impeccably detailed this movie is probably going to be, if you pay attention during the Red Baron fight scene and during the rest of the trailer, you notice, I know, there are like two things about this. One, you don't see the bottom of the Snoopy's doghouse like in the original cartoons. It's just a top bottom thing, and it looks like it's going on kind of like a puppet show a little bit.
Okay, interesting. And
the other thing, even though the spectacle is in 3D, the character still remains in a 2D format. Like that scene where I don't know if you noticed, like when he's flying up the Eiffel Tower, and it's like the shot of him like pulling it up. It's in a flat format with a 3D background. So I find that really impressive with the way they're going to be handling it. I don't know. I'm such a nerd when it comes to this kind of stuff. What about you guys? What did you think?
Okay. Here's the basically there's not much to tell about the plot, but despite one thing that the trailer is focused is that it does focus on Snoopy the Beagle, who in more ways than one is the star of the Peanuts. But we do know that the real main character of this series is Charlie Brown.
Exactly.
And the fact that Charlie Brown only appears in the last is there for a reason, because for those who have been reading both the Peanuts, both the comic strips as well as the various movies, all know that it's the core of the Peanuts story is Charlie Brown being this guy who could never achieve anything, no matter how hard he tries, he never gets what he wants. But that said, at the same time, he never gives up trying. So this is basically Charlie Brown's this best described as the world's best worst underdog story. And from what I hear, you're basically seeing a lot of that in this movie. In addition, that several characters that appeared throughout the franchise would also be making an appearance, which includes the little red-haired girl whom Charlie Brown has been falling over for all these years. Fifi, the dog that Snoopy has a love interest in, and a couple of other Snoopy lookalikes.
Right.
Interesting.
The one thing I haven't gotten the clear of is whether or not this 3D animated movie would be sort of a reboot of the movie franchise, or is this a continuation? Because many of the recent animated features of the Peanuts do have an overarching plot, namely in the case of Charlie Brown. There were several plots where he was trying to win the heart of the little red-haired girl, but as the series progresses, it's revealed that there are other female characters who do have an interest in Charlie Brown. In particular, Peppermint Patty, and in a very subtle way, Marcy. And then there's also another feature film that featured Linus, Charlie Brown's best friend, who carries a blanket all the time, slightly growing up by no longer carrying a blanket with him. And so those are some of the many overarching plots that happened over the years. But not much has been told about whether this is going to be continuing that trend line, or will this be a complete overhaul?
Interesting.
I don't know. I mean, just from a perspective of somebody that hasn't seen Peanut anything beforehand, really.
Seriously?
Well, I know who he is, Charlie Brown. I know some of the characters, and I've seen like little tiny fragments of the original show, but I've never watched like a full episode of it. Maybe it's something we should do in our Christmas special. Maybe we should just watch one of the movies. Could be Charlie Brown Christmas special if there's one.
Oh yeah,
if there is.
Oh yeah.
Yes, they do. Here in the United States, the Peanuts movies are actually shown on a seasonal basis. So we're definitely going to have the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving episode, and then of course the Charlie Brown Christmas shortly after that. And prior to that, we had the Charlie Brown Halloween, as well as the New Year's and the Valentine's episode. So all these seasonal episodes do have this. Like as I said before, it has an overarching plot of Charlie Brown, in particular, trying to win the attention of the little red-haired girl, and with the New Year being perhaps the penultimate one, because in the New Year, where he was asked to have a dance with the little red-haired girl, but he also has a thesis to finish, a book to finish, that ultimately he paid so much attention to his school project that he never got to dance with the little red-haired girl, and instead the little red-haired girl ended up with Snoopy. And there was also a hint. Was it? There was also a hint.
The girl ended up with the dog.
Yes.
Ugh. She must have been desperate.
Well, Snoopy is no ordinary dog. The Snoopy is basically a dog with an attitude, And Snoopy has interacted with many characters before. In some cases, when it comes to female characters, he would even hang out with them to the point they would kiss them. In particular, Lucy, too much to her frustration. The mean.
Oh yeah, right.
To go back, back in the New Year's episode, there was also this small hint that the little red-haired girl, seeing that she never got to meet Charlie Brown, and Linus filling in for him, may actually have a thing for Linus. So, there's that. Guys?
It sounds really complicated.
Yeah, it sounds like complicated. But like I said, the main core here is basically just Charlie Brown, where he tries to achieve something, and then either by twist of fate or by his own actions, he gets screwed, and then tries again, and then gets up and tries.
Yeah. As an outsider perspective of the trailer. It does look pretty good, but without any plot or anything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not really invested in it. I have no idea what the plot of the movie's going to be. And the fact that it's a Peanuts movie means nothing to me. So,
I don't think it'll have much of a plot. I don't know. I feel it'll be like more
plot.
I mean, here's the thing. Another thing I forgot to add. Many of the movies, on the previous movies, were actually based on the comic strips. That's why there's not that much of a plot, since the comics are like 4 panels each. So they just try to incorporate some of the strips into that story. Most likely, we will see the same thing here, where the plot will revolve around some of the comic strips, or some of the famous plots of the comic strips, and then just display them as is. In addition, by the way, in addition to the movie that's coming out Christmas of next year, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I did mention it on my solo podcast a few weeks back, that a studio in France is also creating a series of shorts based on the Peanuts series, and it's going to be completely accurate to the original but in a sort of a bridge between 2D and 3D in that sense.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
It's already airing in France, but it should be an English version should be out sometime early next year.
Okay. Any final thoughts on the Peanuts movie before we move on?
I was going to bring this up. A good reason why we think we should do Charlie Brown Christmas is because this year actually marks the 50th anniversary of it.
Oh! Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely do it then.
All right.
Put it on the calendar.
As for my thoughts on the final thoughts on the trailer, I am so fucking excited for this freaking thing. I really hope Blue Sky pulls it off, and I just really hope this just turns out to be great. I really hope they pull it off well, and I hope this will help Blue Sky wipe the reputation from all the crappy, constantly milking Ice Age and shit like that. And I like Blue Sky. Is the other thing. Crap. And again, I feel like I really hope this helps them get off the ground in terms of where they are right now. Another thing, this is how you do a trailer, Pixar. You show off you show off the animation, and you don't spend most of your fucking trailer showing off past history of your fucking films. I still haven't forgiven you for this. This year has been shit for you. Anyway, let's move on.
Okay, Proto, if you want to add something.
I really don't have any faith for this movie. Not after Blue Sky pulling out Ice Age 4 Epic, which was mediocre at best, and fucking Rio 2. I haven't forgiven that movie yet.
All right.
Rio 2 wasn't that bad. Seriously, I've seen worse. Okay, Pro, I'm gonna bring it to you. Unless you've sat through The Room, The Happening, Under the Skin, in all the same month.
The Room is amazing. What are you talking about?
Fuck that movie!
You do like it?
That fucking movie is the worst. No, I didn't like it. It was like the most painful most experience I have ever experienced in my fucking life.
Oh, dude, mate. Like, I in the summer, I already seen it. I had some friends around and we watched it in my room. It was so funny because a few of them had never seen anything about the movie, so they're just going in. They're like, okay, we'll watch this movie at Jack's, and like one of them hated it, but had got oddly invested into Lisa and Tommy. Like, oh, that Lisa's such a bitch. I hope she gets what's coming to her. Like, she got oddly into it. We just kept fucking laughing about the way he'd read his lines. Did you not find it funny?
I've seen funny bad. The Happening is funny bad. Food Fight is funny bad. Fucking Yu-Gi-Oh! The Pyramid of Light is funny bad. This was painful on so many levels. It's so melodramatic. I made a post on Facebook. With my friends. Literally, I had 350 comments on it. That's how bad it was.
How on earth do you find The Happening good bad, but not The Room? The Room is the perfect good bad movie.
I would say that if it didn't insult me on many levels. I haven't seen a movie that insulting in years.
Guys. Okay,
right,
hey guys, let's move on before this gets personal.
I fucking love The Room. I don't know. Alright, moving on. So, Ryuga, you around?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna need you for this. So, just I read this article, following his cameo at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy, Howard the Duck has officially made a comeback. He's gonna be brought back in the new comic series by Marvel. I don't know anything about it. I've never read Howard the Duck. I've always thought he was shit. The only thing I've had to go on is his movie, which was fucking awful. It's so painful. So I'm gonna let.
I'd rather watch Howard the Duck on.
Really? Even with duck sex?
Yes. I would rather have that image permanently glued to my eyes, so that way every time I blink, that would be what I say. Meaning, when I go to sleep, that would be what I'm going to be seeing most of my days than ever watch a single second of any piece of shit I've seen this year.
I mean, it brings new meaning to the term "fuck a duck."
Oh, by the way, I was about to mention that Howard, that in okay, let me just give you a bit of background info on who or what Howard the Duck is. Howard the Duck is, believe it or not, a Marvel Comics character about a duck that looks exactly like Donald Duck, Disney's Donald Duck, somehow got trapped in the human world, and it's mostly done as a humor-based comic book, but also it does get a bit serious and a bit of an adventure. And in one of the adventures, I never got to read it, but from what I am told, Howard the Duck, the character, did impregnate a female human. And it's like, what?
The fuck?
But they say it actually happened.
I am at a loss for words.
Don't ducks have like corkscrew-shaped penises as well?
Doctor, we don't speak all that.
Like, it probably took him about 20 minutes to like fumble his way in. I don't know how long it's gonna take him to get out. Actually, here's another side thing. With Donald Duck and Howard the Duck, they don't look like ducks. If someone showed me a picture of them and they didn't say they were ducks, I'd say, well, they're geese. They look exactly like geese.
Right.
They look. I guess like Donald Duck and Howard the Duck is more catchy than Howard the Goose, isn't it? But it doesn't really make any sense. So Ryoga, I know you're our resident comic expert and you know everything about ducks in the comic world. So I'll let you go first with this. Are you excited? Is this an exciting prospect?
My first exposure to Howard Duck really wasn't in the comics, but it came from the 1986 movie Howard the Duck. So it's basically the story with the movie is that Howard is actually from another planet, who for some for reasons I really don't remember much, but he did somehow crash landed into Earth, and then befriended this female character who I think he may have impregnated in the comics. But I'm not sure. I know I never got to read the comics, but it was.
I remember what it was. Movie. I remember what it was. It was I think it was his interdimensional transporting like a telescope. I think that lead into another dimension and sucked Howard in for a dimensional time gap, and then he ended up in our world. And then the same thing caused another species of aliens to come down and being trapped in one of the scientist guys. And am I really trying to explain Howard the Duck right now? The sheer fact that I remember the plot of that movie, I think somehow gives you how much of a douche and nerd I am when it comes to this kind of stuff. Anyway, yours continue, Ryoga.
Yeah, like what you said, it has that particular plot, and that's about the only exposure I had. Now, from what I'm told, Howard the Duck did make occasional appearances within the Marvel Comics universe. His last known appearance is during the Civil War arc, in which he was siding with Iron Man. So yeah, he was indeed there, and then after that, it kind of disappeared. So. Said, Howard the Duck involved with. Yes, he was involved with the Superhero Registration Act.
Civil War.
Yes, he was.
Howard the Duck was involved with Civil War.
Yes. He was part of Civil War.
What did he do?
I think saying that sentence gave me brain cancer.
What on earth could he do?
Well, from what I'm told, Howard was trying to register himself under the Superhero Registration Act. So he's on Iron Man. So like, this is my secret identity. I'm Howard. I'm a duck. I'm a public figure. Something like that.
How is he a superhero?
How?
He's a duck.
He doesn't have power. Tell the fuck.
He did form a team called the Fearsome Four.
How is he tied in Civil War?
He had She-Hulk. He had Frankenstein's monster. He had Nighthawk. So he was there, and he did travel to the Marvel Zombies universe at one point. Fought some zombies, took out some Skrulls in the Secret Invasion. So it was it's bizarre.
This is reminding me.
He has been around.
This is just reminding me of Squirrel Girl. So they have a really stupid concept for a hero, and then to kind of validate their existence, they make sure they do like the most badass feats imaginable, and they can outdo other characters. So, for example, Squirrel Girl managed to defeat Thanos and Victor Von Doom one-on-one with fucking squirrels. Like, Thor couldn't do that. Why could this stupid bimp with some squirrels could? And it's the same thing with Howard the Duck. I would bet my bottom dollar, like, Doom's about to laser off Howard the Duck's face, and Howard the Duck quacks at him and defeats him just to validate his existence. Like, they make him be able to really good at solving crimes and stuff, like Batman. Like, yeah, Batman doesn't have any powers, but you know what? He's much more of a superhero than this fucking duck is.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Howard. Howard is known to. I'm not sure about this, but I think Howard is known to carry pistols in his adventures. In many cases, he does act like.
Okay, that makes
he does act like James Bond in a sense.
Now you're comparing Howard the Duck to James Bond. This might be pretty.
But Jack, you do make a point. It's with Squirrel Girl, because despite this squirrel being a sidekick and somehow being ridiculously able to defeat some of the most powerful heroes and villains in the Marvel universe, she did go toe to toe with Wolverine and won. And despite the fact she does have a following, a really big following. Howard the Duck isn't really the same character, despite how bizarre it is that to have a duck that can be as cool as James Bond and can wield a pistol like a badass in a Marvel Comics universe, and he definitely looks a lot like Donald Duck. And for some reason, a lot of people love the guy. So when he made a cameo appearance in Guardians of the Galaxy near the very end, everybody was ecstatic.
Oh yeah.
And considering how big the movie was, that's why Marvel decided, okay, you know what, we're gonna bring him back and do a relaunch of the series with Howard the Duck starring in his own series.
So,
I mean, actually, can I say when I was in the cinema when I was in the cinema and Howard the Duck, his cameo came on, I actually I really raised my voice like, no, not Howard the fucking Duck. Not Howard the fucking Duck! And all my mates were looking at me going, Jack, what are you doing? So I was like, no, not Howard the fucking Duck!
So, is Marvel's thinking that everyone paid money to go see Guardians of the Galaxy again just to see Howard the Duck?
It wouldn't surprise me.
Honestly, I wouldn't blame them actually, because I would have done the same. I'm sorry, you lost me on so many levels with this fucking character. The fact that he impregnated a human woman, the fact that he was involved with Civil War, the fact that he is basically James Bond meets Thomas Wayne from Flashpoint Paradox, and now...
Yes, you could actually make him. That's another point. He can be that Flashpoint Paradox Thomas Wayne if he wanted to. So he can be this humorous, satirical superhero, or he can be this big badass. But that, as ridiculous as it is, so is Donald Duck in the comics format. I'm not kidding. Probably around the 70s from the 70s to the 90s, there were a number of comic books based on the Disney characters that Disney officially released, and one of them involves Donald Duck. Now the comic line, I think, sort of died out over the years, but it gained popularity in Europe that there were additional stories that involves Donald Duck. So
sorry about that, guys.
Donald Duck, more to the point, where Donald Duck's become more of an action hero in the comic book universe of the Disney world, rather than being a comedic character we normally see in the films. So, since Howard is pretty much has the same persona in a sense as Donald, he is an action hero. So I really not that much surprised at the bizarreness of Howard the Duck, and him having a cult following, and as much as Squirrel Girl now having his own comic being relaunched. Guys,
I need to get those comics.
Yeah,
seriously, I need to get those comics.
Yeah, same. Yeah, seriously, I need to read those comics right now. Just someone, viewer, if you can just link them in the comments, give them to me. I must see these for my own eyes. I can't just hear them. I need to see this.
So recently, The Verge posted this article called "Superheroes Don't Exist to Solve Problems, They Exist to Punch Bad Guys." And the article basically bitches about how these superheroes don't actually use their powers to get to the root of problems. They just, a bad guy comes up wanting to rob a bank and they punch them in the face. They don't actually get to the core of corruption or anything. I thought this article was fucking stupid. It was one of the most stupidest arguments I've ever read. I'll let you guys field it. Who wants to go first on this?
I will.
Okay, Proto.
You see, the thing that pissed me off about that article is that failed to understand that superheroes don't usually punch anyone in the face because they want. It's because they need to. Look at a creature like Doomsday. You can't You can't talk to this character because he's a fucking beast that cannot be stopped. He is literally destruction incarnate, and the only way to stop him is to knock him out. But I don't know who thought this was a great idea or thought this article was going to be successful, but he needs to read more comic books to understand it. Anyone next?
Yeah, when I was reading it, it just sounded like an old man who wrote this, who was completely out of touch with the genre. I'll let George go next on this.
Oh, I didn't read the article is the thing, and
okay. I'll let Sylvia go. I'll go now then. If you want to read it now, very quickly, I'll.
Yeah, I'm gonna read it.
Have you read it?
No.
Okay, Ryoga, I'll let you talk for a bit. I know you made a very good argument against this piece on the.
Yes, I did comment this on the Master Toons Facebook page. There's a reason why these people are why the superheroes are who they are in the comics. That they portray the deepest fantasies that we the people in the real world wish it could be the case. And it doesn't just apply to Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, even mythological superheroes like Thor or Perseus or Zeus. These kinds of characters have these amazing powers, be it mythological or fictional, that's based on our imagination, but we ourselves wish we could be one day, but for obvious reasons, it's practically impossible. So
it's escapism, isn't it? It's not about.
Yes, I was trying to remember the motivation J.R.R. Tolkien had when he was making the Lord of the Rings trilogies. That he made that book as sort of an escape during the World War period. I don't know if it's World War I, World War II that he was in, but when the war was going on, and I think he was a soldier at the time, he was having post-traumatic stress syndrome at some point. And so he created these books and all these characters which he fantasizes, and with all these amazing abilities and powers. So that resonated with the audience when they read the book. So the same thing is in the case of the superheroes. They don't need to be doing real life problems, because like I said before in my comments, that let's say, for example, Bruce Wayne decided to use all of his money to go to the US government and say, hey, look, let's make a system that'll stop crime forever, so we can put Joker in jail for good or something like that. That's not going to work, because quite frankly, number one, the main reason being, number one, it's a fictional world. So whatever happens to that, it's not going to happen here, and it's completely and totally irrelevant.
And another thing is that, like, if someone did that in the real world, it still wouldn't help anything. There would still be crime.
Yeah.
Just because you donate a bunch of money to the police department doesn't mean your city is going to be safe.
Because, I mean, in my opinion, with stuff like that, definitely more attention and care and money towards trying to find a solution to these sorts of problems in our society. Definitely that is worth pursuing. But in my mind, the main root of the problem is, like, humans are not evolved enough to be rid of this sort of corruption and thievery. I mean, like, I don't want to get too much into, like, the whole biology aspect, but we're not that much evolved really from the animals that we came from. Like, there's quite clear comparisons to how animals behave and how we behave and how we're motivated to do things. So, like, if you're poor and haven't got a lot of money and you want something, you're gonna take it. I mean, that's kind of like animalistic in a way. So I think until we actually physically evolve, there's always going to be problems like that.
Right. Like,
I mean, it's quite like a deep, sweeping thing to say. I mean, I'm not saying, like, everybody who's bad, it's not their fault, it's like the biology thing. But as a more, like, existential viewpoint.
Yeah, like, we're not evolved enough to really live in our society, like, properly.
Yeah, actually makes me think of Interstellar, there's a really good quote in that movie where humans have evolved to feel compassion for other people and the friends and family around them, and even strangers, but they don't have the level of compassion to care about their species. So they wouldn't sacrifice their own survival for the sake of the future, not directly who's around.
Right.
I mean, that's quite powerful to me. I think that's. I mean, yeah.
Sorry, go on.
I was gonna say like another thing. They complain about how they don't use their money for more passive purposes. They do, like time and time again. The Wayne Corporation. It's in episodes, it's in comics, it's in movies. It's shown how the Wayne organization has set up charities. They've donated to hospitals. They've done this. They've done that. Batman is using his money to improve the infrastructure of society.
Right.
He just there are some problems he has to physically confront.
Right, and even in the worst Batman movie, Batman and Robin, he just did a fundraiser to help like the needy of Gotham.
Exactly.
Like even in the worst movie, he's using his money and the Wayne Foundation to do good in the city.
Exactly. Oh, that's a really great
let me just add in here a little bit. The article does state that the author, his name is Vlad Roloff or something, does prefer to a movie like V for Vendetta, which is based on a DC comic book of the same name, where the hero there doesn't have any superpowers at all, but rather he uses his sense of wit to take out the bad guys. So he preferred to have superheroes to be not just in future adaptations, but in current versions of superheroes from DC and Marvel to be more like this character from V for Vendetta in a sense.
That doesn't make sense because not every character is like V.
Exactly.
Like, V is an extremist, like almost terrorist. Like that's how far he goes. Like Batman isn't gonna do that stuff, you know?
I mean, Alan Moore, his style of comics, he doesn't do fantasy as much, which it doesn't mean he's better or worse. He just does it in a different way. That's quite important to understand. Like V doesn't really have superpowers, so he's not like, he's not gonna fly into space, then look down on Earth, and and you have some sort of really spiritual moment. He's not like that. He handles very realistic circumstances, and he problem solves in a very fairly realistic manner. I mean,
except for when he writes in a giant squid at the end of the story.
Yeah. I mean, the way I say it, it's like if a movie came out about magic in a school, and it was very gritty and realistic, and they learnt their magic, and then they went out and helped normal people, and they cured cancer and stuff, and they did that. Even if it was very good, it wouldn't mean it's better than Harry Potter. Harry Potter, it's never brought up how they could help the Muggles with cancer and illnesses, even slightly. But it doesn't make it worse. It's a fantasy. It's not supposed to be a deep look at society.
And the other thing too is that you have to remember that these characters, at least in theory, are supposed to be real people.
Exactly.
They have their own problems within their own lives. Sure, Superman could go around and build all the buildings ever in the world, but he doesn't have time because he has to worry about going on a date with Lois Lane. They have real problems.
Yeah. It's with firemen, quite a realistic example. They could literally spend all their time just driving around in the truck and putting out fires or helping people, rescuing cats off trees or some shit. But they're people. Right. They've got families to go home to,
Exactly, and they're not any less good for taking care of themselves, They give all they can to other people, and they have every right to take that time for themselves and to worry about their own problems.
Exactly. George, you've just read it. What do you think?
I don't know, really. I guess it does piss me off that this whoever the fuck this author is, like, is reading too much into what Ryoga was probably saying about how these were just basically fantasies, character-driven fantasies, but that doesn't mean that that's all that it is. Like, there's depth to these characters. There's more to them than just punching bad guys. Like with last week and with this week, we're going to be talking about with Planet Hulk, and last week with Flashpoint Paradox. There's a reason with Thomas Wayne, like I explained to you, why he's my favorite Batman is because he's got depth to what he's doing and why he's killing people. He's not killing them just for the sake of being a killer and getting outraged. He's doing it because he thinks that's the right thing to do, because he knows deep down that he failed. And he failed like the worst possible way, and he lost his son, and he lost his wife. And with this article, he's just breaking down to them just being just violent punching machines, and really that's not who they are. Superheroes, yeah, originally they were like just people that we relate to and give us fantasies of what could be, but now when you look at some of the newer comics and some other, and even the movies, there's real life scenarios for these characters. There's depth to them.
Yeah,
you break it down, they are just punching bad guys, but they're doing it for a purpose. They aren't just doing it for the sake of propaganda and shit like that. Also, I want to bring this up, a little thing I saw in the article. I copied it and I put it in the chat, and I'm going to read it right loud. Just once, I'd like to see a superhero where this protagonist can you read it out loud for me, Carson?
I will find it.
Sorry, what?
So, just once, I'd like to see a superhero movie where the protagonist's innate abilities are matched by a proactive mind that can solve problems without resorting to violence.
Iron Man 3.
The Dark Knight.
Yeah, I mean...
Are you fucking shitting me?
That's the whole purpose of the movie, isn't it?
Exactly. The joke. I haven't watched it in months or anything and shit like that. Even that. The Joker, his plan outmatches Batman. It costs him. I'm not going to spoil it because everyone has seen The Dark Knight. If you haven't seen The Dark Knight, you've clearly been living in a cave for most of your life. No offense.
Yeah, I mean,
part of his character and part of the archetype, he lost his girlfriend in a fire because he had to sacrifice because of the grand scheme of his plan. He fucking idiot! You fucking fuck! I hate you. That's the whole idiot. I am sick and tired of this fucking bullshit this year. I mean, sure, we've gotten a lot of greatly written articles about this. Lin Cara did a great bit in Okay, and there's this great scene where he just breaks out in front of this critic saying that all she's doing is just putting on fancy words and doesn't really know the true meaning of structure, depth, and camera angles. All he's doing is just wanting to put some shit on a Blu-ray cover. That's what this is. I am sick of this. It's fucking bullshit. Unless you actually give out some valid facts for this, I am not listening to you idiotic piece of shit article.
Yeah, I mean, just a quote here from the article. Why must the initiative and disruption always come from the supervillains? I've just watched Guardians of the Galaxy and I wonder what any of the heroes would be doing if it weren't for the bad guy stepping in to make things interesting. The crazy thing about superhero tales is that more often than not, they move to the rhythm of the active and dynamic anti-hero than the reactive and theatrically overdressed good guys. I guess it would steal anyone? It adds depth if they do that, but it's not integral to the overall story and genre, and it does happen anyway. It does happen anyway.
The thing is like, you could say that about every movie like I've ever seen, like, because you have to have the antagonist.
Yeah. Like, and then, like, movies that don't necessarily have an antagonist, they still have, like, this dreading evil about them. There's a conflict. There's a reason for the story to exist and what the characters have to learn.
Right, like...
And so what this idiot is saying, basically, is that the hero should cause destruction, just as much destruction as the villain. That's not how storytelling works, you fucking dumbass!
I don't understand.
God, who is this? I'm seriously looking up who wrote this piece of shit. Okay, give me a second.
I don't understand what, like, he means by that. Like, I wonder what they would be doing if it weren't for the villain. Like, let's take I don't know. What's that movie with Bradley Cooper and he takes the pill? I forget what it's called.
Limitless.
Yeah, Limitless. Okay, let's take Limitless. I wonder what Bradley Cooper would be doing without the pill. Like, it's the exact same thing.
Yeah, the thing is, it's not. He's trying to make it more about superheroes, but you could literally apply this to so
literally
much.
any piece of fiction.
Yeah, so much.
I mean, like, you take one aspect out of the movie that is the central part of the story. You cannot have a story.
Yeah, like, I wonder what Romeo and Juliet would be doing if their families weren't feuding. Like,
World War II, I wonder what the Allies would be doing if they weren't trying to rescue all the Jews from the concentration camps.
Right, like, it's just a...
I wonder what Freddy Krueger would be doing in his spare time when he's not murdering people.
Yeah, like, it's just a silly argument.
Yeah, I wonder why in the hell Matthew McConaughey went into space when he left his daughter behind in this Interstellar, which I just saw again, I think that's a good example. You take one aspect out of that movie, you cannot have the movie. I don't know if any of you seen it?
Yes.
I haven't.
It's great. I really liked it.
Oh yeah, seriously. I saw it with my dad and my brother. We both all loved it. My dad already saw it. Anyway, you take one aspect out of that movie, like it's all a central timeline. Like the movie literally tackles the ideas of timelines, and that's what I love about time travel movies and stuff like that. Literally one piece. That's what the butterfly effect and Freshman Paradox dealt with this. You take one small piece of the story out, and it causes a massive chain effect. We have talked about this in like tons of... This has been explored so many times, and you haven't ever thought of this, you fucking dumbass?
I mean, the other thing, I can kind of see what he's getting at. I mean, like, it's good to see them when they're not directly just fighting the bad guys, seeing them do good things, so it shows they're innately good. I mean, a really good example, whatever you think of the movie, Amazing Spider-Man 2, there's a really good bit where he's literally just helping out people with kind of trivial matters, like there's a kid who these bullies broke his science project, and Spider-Man comes and scares them away, and he takes the time to help him fix his project. Like, I like that, but it's not so detrimental to the film. Like, it doesn't suddenly make the heroes arseholes.
Yeah.
Like, because we've already said they have lives. They have lives. They want to.
Yeah.
They don't have to do good all the time.
Yeah.
Also, like,
I just read this article and I thought it was just propaganda, but now I'm digging into it. This is probably the worst written article ever. I'm not joking.
I think probably, like, the main thing I took away from the article is that he wants superhero movies, specifically the movies, to be less about the superheroes just punching things and more about them being as characters. Would you agree?
Yeah.
And I kind of see that.
Absolutely.
Like, in a lot of the Marvel movies, I find it's a lot about the final battle, right?
Yeah.
And not so much about, like, character development and stuff.
Yeah.
But then you could say the same thing about half the action movies that they put out.
Exactly.
And, like, it doesn't make them any less good. It's just a different kind of movie.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I got a good example of that. Like, it's just mostly action, and it's just mostly kind of going with that flow, and it's not really about like a character. The movie John Wick. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
I haven't.
Oh, it's fantastic. Anyway, the setup of that movie is it's basically Keanu Reeves, his dog, he gets messed up by the mob, and then the rest of the movie is him going after the mob and just killing everything in his path. Yeah, you can argue that most of the movie is just him killing people, but that's not what the whole movie is centered around. I'm not going to spoil it, but when you watch the movie, there's actual depth to why he's killing these people, why they're doing this. And yeah, like you said, the same statement can apply to any action movie ever.
And like
even any movie ever.
In the comics, like they do deal with, I think, more like quote real problems. Like in the 70s, you had Green Arrow's sidekick having a heroin addiction and stuff like that, and like you had a Spider-Man story where one of his friends' brothers had like an addiction and stuff. And I feel like they have more time to deal with that stuff. But when you're making a movie, you don't want to clutter the movie with all these like little things. You have the big conflict, maybe a couple subplots, and that's what you have, and that's an obstacle that maybe that medium needs to tackle, but I don't think it's a glaring problem that needs to be fixed.
Yeah,
exactly. As long as there's depth.
Sorry guys, I'm just going to get some water if you just want to tie this segment up.
Mm-hmm.
We'll then do a movie.
Like I said, there's depth to as long as there's depth to the character development, as long as there's depth to the story. We don't need a shitload of plots that's saying that like they help some people or shit like that. You need to understand something. Not everything has to. You cannot have everything show you. You can't know everything. You don't need to know why they're doing this. You don't really know like what's going on in their daily lives. All that matters is what the central conflict is and why they're doing this. And if the reason they have behind it has enough backing behind it to where you get behind it, then you root for them. That's what and as long as you have a good director, a good writer, and you just show them like the journey of getting to their goal, then you have a good film and a good book or a good TV episode. And you're trying to break it down that every piece of fiction ever should explain like every little piece of the side character's past and what they're doing in their daily lives. What the fuck does it matter? It's only an hour-long piece of film, or an hour and a half long, like film, a book. A book, I understand. If you're saying like a book should have more depth in what they're going on in the daily lives, I can get that. But we're talking about comic book movies and comic books in general. They aren't that long. Like a lot of
superheroes in general.
Right.
Exactly.
So whether it's Superman or Spider-Man, Superman or Spider-Man, or even going as far as Son Goku, I mean, we don't have to know too much about, like George said, we don't have to know too much about their lives, but they do have these powers, and they already know what to do with them. They don't have to deal with whatever social issues we're having. That's not
exactly.
They don't have a place for that.
Right.
Exactly.
There are movies where you deal with these real world problems, and there are movies where you don't. And I feel like superheroes, for the most part, land in the second category.
Okay.
Exactly.
I think we've run our course with this, so I think if anyone else wants, maybe Proto, do you agree with everything?
I agree with everything. Every single word, and George, you nailed it right in the head with that one.
Thank you, Proto. Thank you so much. I've gained I hate to brag, like I come off like bragging a lot. I know I stay quiet a lot during a lot of these podcasts, and I try to give you guys time to speak. But the reason why I'm so pissed at this is because I don't know if you guys know this, but I've been really trying to inspire to possibly be a filmmaker. And so I've been paying a lot of attention to basic archetypes, basic structure, and shit like that. And when I see something this idiotic, this poorly written, this poorly thought out, it just enrages me because it shows just how little they actually understand about the entire spectrum of the art of storytelling.
I mean, for the record, I think The Verge is a pretty bad news website. If you look at some of their other articles, it's very short-sighted, very whingy. It doesn't really take into account a lot of things. They're quite bigoted, really.
Yeah.
Like this article was extremely bigoted. Like we said, he complains about if Batman solves all his fistfights this way, blah blah blah. It's like, well, exactly as I said, like, have you not seen the fucking Dark Knight? He was going to give up being Batman because
hell, in Dark Knight Rises, he said he gave up being Batman for 8 years.
Yeah, and he only became back to being Batman because he had to.
Exactly.
So it's a very short-sighted article, really. But never mind. Moving on. So, movie of the week. We're going to talk about a hero that punches things to solve his problems. Literally, like, he's exactly what this guy was talking about.
As kind of ironic.
Our third movie in our it's definition of irony. Yeah. Our third movie in our superhero themed month. We're doing a movie called Planet Hulk, an adaptation of a comic series that came out a few years ago. So the plot of this movie is actually really interesting. So there's this group called the
Illuminati.
No affiliation to any current Illuminati that have done work on various dollar bills around the globe. So the Illuminati comprises of Iron Man, Professor X, Reed, and some other superheroes that secretly come together and agree the Hulk is too dangerous to keep on Earth. I think this decision was triggered by something else happened prior. It's not in the movie, so we're not going to worry about it. So the beginning of the movie, the Hulk wakes up and he finds himself on a spaceship, and a message is playing as Iron Man telling him that, sorry, it's come to this. They're going to dump him on a planet which is completely empty of sentient life, but I think there's like deer and game and stuff for him. He gets angry, he smashes the spaceship around, and he crashes on the wrong planet. And on this world, he gets taken prisoner and forced to participate in basically Gladiator the movie. So he has to fight for his freedom. It does develop after that, and he meets some pretty cool characters.
The movie is basically John Carter meets Gladiator.
Yeah.
Just with the Hulk.
Yeah, that's great, actually.
And better. Much better.
To me, it's the best Hulk movie I've ever seen. 5 words or less, everybody.
Surprisingly epic.
Hulk, strongest movie there is!
Why this movie didn't get a sequel?
Don't get me angry.
Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic.
I know. I didn't know what else to say.
My one is, are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
That was a good one.
Okay.
Oh, man.
So, get into the movie. So, did everybody like it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, hell yes.
So, who
surprisingly so.
Who hadn't seen it before and knew nothing about it?
I did.
Alright, so George, you going into it and you hadn't seen anything with any prior knowledge. What do you think of the movie, just in general, at the moment, just briefly?
In general, it's, like I said, even though I haven't seen Gladiator, I know some of the plot of it. It is basically John Carter meets Gladiator. Yeah, the reason why I got out that vibe from it was initially 30 minutes, I believe 20 or 30 minutes into it, I was like, this is kind of alright, I really kind of enjoying this, I really wish, it's not as good like Flashpoint or stuff like that. But then, after, I believe, the first fight, and you go into a little bit more of the background history of some of the other characters there, that's where the movie really started to pick up for me, and where I felt like the fights had more weight to them, and it progressed a lot better than in the first half, which my only real big problem with this movie is the fact that I really think the pacing is really, really off. But even then, I think it makes up for it in a lot of the story aspects, especially in the mid to late second act of this film.
Alright, so let's go into the plot. So, I thought, even though about 2/3 of the movie is pretty much Gladiator, with a twist being that somebody else is playing the role of Maximus. Like, the Hulk isn't calling for everybody to stay together, and he's not trying to coordinate them into a team attack. he's going to look complete opposite. There's another person doing that, and everyone else is telling them that Hulk has to play ball, or else they're all going to get fucked. And the Hulk's not hearing any of it. So I liked that.
Yeah.
So even though it was pretty much Gladiator, the characters were all like quite likable. It was well voice acted, and there was some interesting side things. I mean, it's not like the most interesting plot in the world. It's just quite an enjoyable.
Exactly. Can I just ask? It's been a while since I've watched the movie. Where does the story end in the movie? Because I've read the comic and seen the movie, and I forget.
So at the end,
let me help you with that, Carson. Since I am familiar with both. Although I'm not that too familiar with the comics, I do manage to get some knowledge about it, and I've seen the movie. Is that it did not end the same way the comic ended. It actually ended. It actually ended with Hulk marrying Kyra.
Okay.
But it never verged the point that it led to the World War Hulk event. Which, let me just remind your viewers. At the very end of the series of the movie, the Hulk did marry Kyra, who is one of the few characters that can actually match the Hulk's abilities, and is female, and the one the Hulk actually fell in love with. In the comic book version, probably about a few days after the Hulk got married to Kyra, and the Hulk actually became the ruler of the planet. The ship that took him there actually created an explosion.
I think it would have to be more than a few days, because don't they have like a kid?
No, what happened was that I know from what I thought, it was some time after that the explosion did happen, and Kyra was pregnant with 2 children.
Right.
And she used her powers, the one that protected her from being blasted to smithereens. Mm-hmm. She used all of that powers to save her 2 kids, while she herself got vaporized. Right. The Hulk at that time wasn't aware that she was pregnant. You're free to correct me on that. But regardless, he blames the Illuminati, which is Iron Man and the team, for being this way, and thus he decided to go back to Earth and on his path of vengeance, which is our Hulk story. And that's actually one of the point where Hulk just acts like a total badass.
Yeah.
He basically mops everybody. Whoever they throw at him, no matter how powerful they are, the Hulk is there, and he's that angry. He fights the Avengers. He fights the X-Men. He even took on Juggernaut. He even took on Doctor Strange. He
even took on Howard the Duck?
No. I just have this image of Howard the Duck going, "So, you're a big green fella, aren't you?" And then like the Hulk just pounds him into the dirt with one punch. And he just got his beak sticking out the ground.
But going back to that event was never established. So more like the Hulk did had a happy ending in that film. Carson?
Right.
I would just say actually, I don't want to get in too much, but I think a lot of the fans want World War Hulk as the final Avengers film.
Right.
Yeah.
I honestly, I've just got it in my head at the moment. I see it really working, where the Hulk comes to Earth with his army, and like the Avengers kind of like go underground while the Hulk and his army are fucking things up, and they kind of have to work their way to the Hulk. Mm-hmm. And then there's some like emotional and physical confrontation. I really see that working. You can have all these superheroes in it.
I feel like if they ever want to restart the Marvel universe, that's how you end it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I feel like maybe if they maybe they'll tie it. I don't know if they'll do this, but maybe if they possibly tie in, since we all know like Hulk is going to be, the Hulk Bruce Banner is going to be in most of the Avengers movies with Infinity War Part 1 and 2. Maybe there's a possibility that the Hulk, Planet Hulk storyline will tie into Infinity War? I'm not sure. I agree with you that the idea of World War, what was it called?
World War Hulk.
World War Hulk. I think that could really work as a way to end the Marvel Cinematic Universe and possibly start anew with it.
Yeah, absolutely. This is kind of a tangent, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, I always compared Hulk to Godzilla in a sense that this is just one big guy you just want to wreck everything. If you ever screwed at him, you're pretty much screwed yourself. And World War Hulk is where the Hulk is pretty much here, where he's really at his, he's really that pissed. Yeah, that pissed, and that I don't care what he's done.
I'm gonna. Breaker, don't they?
Yeah, that's why he's called the World Breaker. So
who was me after I watched The Rome?
The one thing I don't know if I liked was, and this is both with the movie and the comic book, is that it's just the Hulk. Like, there's no Bruce Banner, and I don't know how I feel about that when they do that.
Yeah, that was actually one of the things that I was questioning a little bit with this movie. I don't know if this really counts as a plot hole, but I kind of think it does. There are points in the movie where Hulk is clearly unconscious. Isn't he in a calm state? And when he enters, like, when you go to sleep, you enter a calm state. Even if you go to sleep very angry, you wake up very peacefully and very calm. Wouldn't he transform back into Bruce Banner if that happened?
I think maybe.
I think what happened is, like, before the stories, there was some plot device that, like, booted Bruce Banner out of, like, the Hulk's consciousness or something. Kind of made them two separate characters or something like that. It happens every now and then in the comics, but I don't know. I've always kind of felt weird when they do that.
Yes, you're right. There were some story arcs prior to the Planet of the Hulk story arc wherein the Hulk and Bruce Banner do indeed switch personalities, in which this allows the Hulk to remain the Hulk even at a very calm state, while Bruce Banner acted as sort of a subconscious. So for that reason, when the movie version came out, the Hulk remained the Hulk throughout the entire film. I believe in the comics, it's only done briefly, where the Hulk did revert himself to Bruce Banner to show to Kyra his true form. And
I think that happens.
And since both the Hulk and Bruce, being two different personalities but share the same mind, they both are in love with Kyra. So they have to let them know that it's basically Hulk and Bruce Banner are the same person. But other than that, it's always the Hulk. Another thing that's also noteworthy with this movie is that the Hulk actually speaks with some form of intellect. Normally, if it's a savage Hulk, which is his purest green form where he's actually mad, he just grunts like Hulk strongest there is. But here he can talk like a normal human would, but not on the same level as I don't want to talk nerdy about this, as the Grey Hulk, which is basically it's not his strongest form, but he's able to talk like any other human being.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
So at this point, Hulk is able to talk more humanly than any other character. Another noteworthy change is the inclusion of Beta Ray Bill as Hulk's opponent in the final gladiator match, as opposed to the Silver Surfer in the original comics. I believe there was a licensing issue on having Silver Surfer, so they had to choose Beta Ray Bill instead. Nonetheless, it is one of the most brutal fights I've seen.
Oh yeah, same. The animation in that fight scene was intensely detailed, and like how graphic it was.
Like Beta Ray Bill's like a wicked character, so seeing him in it and seeing him get his ass handed to him was pretty cool.
Yeah, seriously.
So I don't know. I feel like we've gotten away from the main topic a little bit.
One last thing. It's not much about not much about the plot line, but also part of the animation, because I remember watching this with my niece and nephew. We were watching it on home video, and we were so amazed by it. And at the same time, we're also fans of the Avatar franchise of Nickelodeon. There was one flashback scene where it featured the Red King, the prime antagonist, as a young person. And I remember my niece asking me, "Why is Aang in this picture?" Because it looks exactly like a young Aang from Avatar with this real mean look on his face. Laughing so hard.
That's pretty funny. So I guess as far as plot goes, they had the subplot with like the government kind of killing people, right?
Yes. The red
right.
thing.
Yep.
Right. So what did you guys think of that?
Fucked up. That's the only word I can think of. I mean, holy shit.
Of what?
Because yeah, go on, Frodo.
The subplot which the king sent some kind of whore. Some kind
Oh
of
yeah, that
infestation.
was it. Oh yeah, that was fucked on so many levels. Seriously, holy shit.
Yeah, they send like spores, right?
Yeah.
Yes, infecting spores, which they turn into like these. Oh, they were called spikes, I believe. What are they called? Spikes? Yeah, that is really. Again, I try to avoid like that kind of stuff is really dark when you really think about it, because this guy is basically genociding species. Species. What's the plural for species?
Species.
As a genociding species, and it's really grim the way they show it, especially in the flashback moment with what was her name?
Kiora.
Kiara with her and her family during the first attack.
Right.
Her holding. Oh, another good example of a very dark moment in this was the scene where I believe one of the bombs go off and she's walking along. It's kind of, oh my god, we spoil shit all the time on these fucking things. Where she's holding the kid and she's holding him back, and she has the ability to survive the atomic blast because of her, what the power was. Yeah, because of her powers, but as she's walking away with the remains of the kid, who's nothing but ash, she slowly drifts away in the wind, and she just stands there like in tears about this thing.
Yeah, I thought that was necessary. Again, last week with the violence, it was a very powerful image, but like it didn't really suit the tone of the rest of the movie.
Right, and I think that's kind of one of the problems that I have with this movie is that it kind of just scratches the surface of what the comic book storyline is, because there's some really like fucked up shit going on in the Planet Hulk comic book that I watched the movie and I enjoyed it, which is good because that's what movies are for.
Precisely.
But then I went and read the comic book and I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like the insect characters like have sex and shit, and like yeah, like it's just the weirdest shit is going on, and yeah, I don't know, it's weird.
Can I give a name for this podcast? The podcast up for horrific imagery.
I don't think that's snappy enough, but
okay, still.
And they end up like plotting against the Hulk, and like they're the ones who basically end up killing the whole planet, and like I don't know, there's just some like real like intense stuff in the comic book that you don't get in the movie, which I understand, but it's also kind of like I wish there was a bit more.
Yeah. I mean, my main problem with the movie, we sort of touched on it a little bit, but it doesn't really fully go into bits of story. Like, as we talked about, it doesn't fully explain things. So we talked about with the Hulk, like why he was a bit smarter and why he stayed as a Hulk even when he was KO'd. And Ryoga explained that really well. But the movie doesn't take the time to explain that in a way. And also, with the business with the Red King, what's that grey woman called again? The strong one?
Kyra.
Kyra?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I felt like she didn't get enough story, even though, like, she had that flashback. But, I didn't get what made her like they kind of mentioned she was something or other.
I believe in the comic she possessed what's known as the Old Stone, which explains her invulnerability to these atomic blasts.
Yeah.
I believe there's another difference that the comics she was enslaved to work for the Red King because of her power.
Yeah.
And here she just believes that the Red King, that she was chosen by the Red King and became a loyal subject. So that's just a minor change.
Yeah, so it's not like they give her some sort of title like the king is searching for the blah blah. That's why it uses spores, but it's not really dealt with. It doesn't really dive into it. It just gives you a really like it's kind of glazed over, really.
Right.
So I was disappointed by that.
Is a little more like superficial, I would say.
Right.
It kind of just gives you like a summary of the comic book and adds in some like pretty great action.
The action is great.
I mean, it makes for a fun movie, but I don't know. I'm just kind of left wanting a little more, having seen what they did with the comic book. And I feel like that's kind of
a given.
Again, like it comes with the medium. You only have like an hour and a half, maybe, to tell your story. Whereas in the comic, you have so many issues with so many pages, and you can do all this, and and it takes more time to animate.
Yeah. I mean, if they did it in live action, which I doubt they'll do, I think they'll explore a lot more of the things that were dealt in the comic, like you said. But since this is animated, I think that kind of limits the amount of time they have. Like, I know there are a lot of very long animated films, some unnecessarily so.
Right.
But even then, I think this was a low budget, a basic budget direct to DVD.
You have to remember it's direct to DVD, direct to video. Kind of like a little project, and when you keep that in mind, it really is a pretty good. It's impressive.
I think it's a great film.
Same.
And cool. I guess to compare it to the comic book is a little unfair, but it comes with the territory, right? When you're adapting something, you're obviously going to compare them.
Also, the fact that you have to keep in mind that there are even though it's a direct-to-DVD release, it's marketed towards those who have never read the comic book.
Right, so and it's also marketed to a bit more of a younger age group than maybe what the comic book is going for.
Not exactly.
I'd say this is more like teenager kind of territory.
Yeah, because here's another interesting note. Disney did actually release Planet Hulk in their Disney Channel a few years back.
Really?
And when I watched it, I did notice several scenes have actually been cut on that one, understandably, because it is quite violent. It's not the same level of violence as Batman Assault on Arkham, but it is there, so it's not really for the younger kids, but probably in this it has a PG-13 because of violence.
Like, when did it come out? 2010, I think, right?
About that,
yeah, 2010, yes.
So I would have been maybe 13, 14 when it came out, and I watched it then, and I thought it was pretty appropriate, but then I went and read the comic book, and I was like, probably shouldn't tell my mom I read this. You have that.
Alright, so let's move on to so just talking about some stuff in general about the movie. So animation. George really likes it. I really like it. What does everyone else think? Proto.
I liked it.
I would say it's probably one of the better Marvel animated properties. Like, some of them look pretty cheap. This one looks good.
I feel like unlike something like a Flashpoint Paradox that looks like it's very well handled in terms of animation, this like something that you would see from like an actual theatrically released film. This, I did get the vibe that this was direct to DVD. It's hard to explain. I think it shows in terms of movements, if you know what I'm saying. Like the movements are a lot more like in Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and some of the texturing as well. But even then, like during some of the battle scenes, it's really well detailed. I think that's what they spent most of their time animating, because it's like this very grand spectacle, and you need to put a lot. You gotta make that really look impressive, and you put a lot of work into that. And I think that's partly why it looks like that, but that's not really a bad thing. It's just really, it does show that there, in terms of animation, it does. The spectacle pieces are a lot better than the movement kind of pieces. I know it's a weird thing to complain about, but when you're animation geeks like us, you tend to pay attention to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I would say that it's better than the average TV show.
Yeah.
Not as good as a theatrical release, obviously.
Yeah.
In the movie, they had the flashback with the rock guy, right? Or no?
Oh, yeah. They had a flashback where he was telling the story of how... what was the other name of the other four characters?
Beta Ray.
Oh, yeah. With him and how they found him on the planet, I believe... Was the planet Earth? I can't remember.
No, let's see. Korg, you mean the rock guy?
Yeah.
Korg?
Yeah.
I believe in his story arc, he was basically leading a group of other of his race, which we believe it was on Earth, because when they landed on Earth, they first battled Thor.
Yeah.
And then during that battle, to their surprise, they thought it was just him. Turns out Beta Ray Bill was with Thor as well, which is how Beta Ray Bill ended up being the Gladiator in the first place.
Yeah, I was kind of said earlier, but I think Beta Ray Bill is more appropriate to the film Silver Surfer. Like, he has more of a warrior attitude.
Right.
So like Silver Surfer's just like, I'm sorry I got to fight, but like Beta Ray Bill's kind of got more of the warrior instinct. Like,
yeah,
he's fighting's a lot of what he does. Like,
yeah, he literally like charged out of him and just smacked him around with the hammer. And after that, Hulk just comes in and just pulverizes him and literally beating him into the ground. Kind of like that scene in Sin City, the original, with Hardigan beating the shit out of the yellow bastard.
Yeah. I thought Beta Ray Bill was a better fit. When I read the comic, I don't know, Silver Surfer felt kind of out of place.
It's mainly because because Silver Surfer is a cosmic character, considering he is Galactus' was Galactus' lackey, so in that he can travel across the universe, so he has that cosmic level of power. I would dare say almost in the same level as Superman. But able to travel through space. That's why he was fitted as the Hulk opponent. But instead they have Beta Ray Bill, which is probably which in a way, because Beta Ray Bill is somewhat of a god in some sort. That was actually he was fitted to take on the Silver Surfer as his replacement.
Right. I liked how they had Korg. That was his name, right?
Yes.
I liked how they had his backstory, because I think in the first Thor story, the Korg's race is actually the I think 3 of them are the main antagonists of the first issue of Thor. Or the first issue that Thor appears. I think it's like Journey into Mystery or something.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. That was nice tied in.
Mm-hmm.
It did make me think, though, that that rock guy was a bit of a prick.
Yeah.
Like, he just... like, we were supposed to root for him. Then he tells his story about how he and his buddies tried to kidnap someone from Earth. And then they got their asses handed to him. It was like... Well, you deserve that, and you don't really have any remorse about it.
Right.
I think he's more sorry for himself that he bruised his rock bottom behind. I guess like with the side characters, I don't think they got so much attention. Like, I mean, they were fine. Like, they were good alongside the Hulk and helping the plot along. I didn't dislike them. I just thought they were a bit like forgettable. Really, the only ones I really remember is Hulk, of course. Iron Man, because I know Iron Man, and he's just started the film quite a pivotal way. That grey woman, I can never remember her name. Kaira. Yeah. I didn't really. It wasn't explained like how she could take the Hulk's punches and stuff. Like it goes back to what I said earlier. There's obviously like a good reason for it, but it just kind of seemed weird that like all these other characters get the shit beaten out of them, yet she can take all these punches and kicks without like that much of a problem. And the Red King, who again like I thought was a bit boring. Like, he served the plot of the film, being an obstacle to the Hulk and the other characters, but he's not really that interesting. And like his suit, like he had this massive robotic suit, and the Hulk just like destroyed it. It's like, okay. What does everyone else think?
Okay, go ahead, Proto.
I have nothing.
Okay,
I have nothing.
I was about to say, I actually like Kaira. I think this is one of the best portrayals of her in the movie. However, briefly, since she only appeared in the Planet Hulk storyline and never appeared since she was indeed killed in the comics. So I personally believe that Lionsgate, the producer and the distributor behind the film, did try their best to portray her not just eventually ending up as the Hulk's wife, but also as the Hulk's equal in terms of power and strength. Now, I don't want, in a way, on a feminist's point of view, this is basically, Kaira is the embodiment of a very strong female character, which she is. She can take the Hulk's punches, and she can fight the Hulk toe to toe. I believe in the comics, this is also the way these two actually flirt with one another. They were actually flirting while they're fighting, and the animated series doesn't portray that. The animated movie doesn't portray that as much, but you can tell that these two do have some sort of chemistry to each other. So I do like her subplot there, that had she remained loyal to the Red King, she would become one of the Hulk's biggest obstacles until her turn to side with the Hulk. Yeah. After she learned the truth about the Red King. So that's one of the things I like about another character I do like is Neek, the insect guy, where I believe in the comics. In the comics, he is for the most part just a side character.
Yeah. In the comics, he's a little bitch. Fuck
he's a complete little bastard. And then the big reveal in World War Hulk, in that he was the one.
Yeah.
Who set the Hulk's ship to explode and killing everyone, just so the Hulk could continue being the world breaker rather than being this peaceful guy. So that was a big reveal. But here, he's just he plays a sidekick and a comedic one at that. And it's only until around the very end where he started acting like a badass, despite the fact one of his arms was cut off. So it was like about that point.
Honestly, I liked him a lot better in the movie, because in the comic book he's just like, he's just a little bitch the whole time, and I fucking hate him. And then in the movie they made him like a very likable and a very likable character.
I did find it funny when the bit where it might be like the fight. I think there's a fight with Beta Ray Bill, where like he kind of goes in, and the crowd are going, was it Meek, and then one was like, shake your thorax, Meek. It's like, what? Why would you say that? Like, if it was like a guy like Maximus walked in, one guy going, yeah, shake your ass, Maximus. It's like, why would you say that? He was useless though. Why would he get the crowd to chant? Like, you watch like his friends, like they tried to. I like that bit. They tried to like, let's get the one that's already down. They start attacking him with their swords, and he just gets squished. That made me laugh really hard. I don't think we have too much left to talk about with this flick.
Soundtrack, I guess? Maybe?
Not really. Like, again, it was kind of stock sort of thing. Unless you noticed something, maybe?
I thought there were a lot more, I felt like there were a lot more pieces in this that actually fit the scene and didn't feel like boned in at all. Like, I'm trying to figure out a good example like that. I think most of the ending had some decent pieces as well, but overall, I think it was much better than Flashpoint in that regard, but it's still not as good as like Mask of the Phantasm was.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen any of the other Hulk animated movies?
Nope.
The only let's see, the Hulk. This is basically the one of the two animated movies that starred where the Hulk is the main character. The other one was Hulk versus that came before it.
Well,
that movie was terrible.
Really? You think so?
Yeah, I didn't like it that much. I mean, I liked the first one mainly because Deadpool was there. I didn't like the one where he fought Thor.
Yeah, I feel. I mean, I liked it. I liked both of them, but I hear very, very mixed things about it. Some people like the Wolverine one more. Some people like the Thor one more. Some people don't like either of them at all. Some people love both of them. It's very, very interesting, I find. So, I was gonna ask which you would prefer, Planet Hulk or Hulk versus, but I guess we have our answer.
I have a different answer, but for me, it's just the same. I don't think neither of the three movies can.
I think we lost Proto.
Down the back of the sofa. All right.
But I mean, of the two movies, I mean, on a personal level, Planet Hulk was definitely the better of the two. I did enjoy Planet Hulk. The only other Hulk movie aside from that I did enjoy, which Hulk was in it, was perhaps the next Avengers movie.
Okay.
Which was Hulk making a small appearance there, but he did
the old Hulk with the long ass hair and shit.
Yes, Heroes of Tomorrow. Yeah. That's the only other thing I liked about it. But yeah, of all the movies the animated movies that Hulk was in, personally, it is also my closing argument about it. Planet Hulk is definitely the best of the best of the bunch. Guys,
I think we should start to wrap things up now. So if we just go around, final thoughts.
So it's a good time, you know. If you're stuck inside on a rainy day, it's a good thing to throw on the TV. I would recommend reading the comic book if you like the movie. Yeah, it's a good time.
A very, very entertaining film. Yeah, definitely try to check it out if you're a fan of the Hulk. And I'll try to check out the comics and see how the contrast in terms of from the comics to the film. I'm not sure, but overall, I'd say it's a surprisingly very, very good film to watch. Not as good as Flashpoint or Phantasm, but still very, very entertaining and very well made.
All right. So my final thoughts. I completely agree with you guys. I think it's a very enjoyable film. If you want to see the Hulk punch things really cool, and
literally watch any Hulk movie.
Well, no, and you want like a decent story as well.
Yeah.
World War Hulk is definitely the one for you.
Planet Hulk.
Yeah, sorry, Planet Hulk. Definitely the one for you.
Yeah.
It's a very good time. I recommend it.
Yeah.
Yes, it's basically one of the best Hulk movies ever, alongside the Edward Norton Hulk movie. So,
I
recommend.
Like out of all of the Marvel animated movies, I'd say it's one of the best.
If
like
not
top
the only
three.
good one.
Top 3, definitely.
So next week will be our final movie in our superhero themed week. We could call it, if we made like a playlist, we could call it Marvel vs. DC. I think it'd be quite cool.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, even if we did mostly.
I'm a Marvel and I'm a DC.
Even if you mean like, it was just mostly DC, really. So
Yeah.
next
I
week.
think that's mostly because DC has been putting out more direct-to-DVD comic adaptations than Marvel has, since they've been more focused on the cinematic universe.
And they're better quality.
Better, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So next week, I think it's the perfect film to finish off our month. All-Star Superman. So make sure you tune in for that one. I'm really looking forward to it. I haven't seen that movie in a while. I can't wait.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I saw it when it first came out, and I don't remember too much about it, but I remember liking it.
Well. Let's just say despite what everybody raves about it, I actually have some negative thoughts about it. I'll explain more on the next podcast.
To be
Dun dun dun.
All right, so this has been the Master Toons Podcast with me, your host Jack Hayward. George.
Toons. It's Toons, Jack.
Did I say Poons?
No, you said Master Toon.
Master Toons. I was trying to be snappy. You've ruined my flow.
We'll edit it out in post.
I'm George. See you next week.
Yeah. Ryoga. Bye.
This is Ryoga316. Just don't forget, check out my my YouTube channel, youtube.com/user/Ryoga316.
Carson.
Yeah, I think it's a featured channel on our Master Toons Podcast channel. So
yeah.
Check his channel out.
There's something.
And
sorry, Ryan.
sorry. What?
I was going to say something worth mentioning. Master Toons has been expanding, so we now have a more anime dedicated podcast. So all you anime nerds who want to talk about Vegeta punching Naruto in the face.
All you otaku, check that out.
Yeah,
yeah, hopefully we're going to have some more members, some new music, all sorts of good stuff.
Yeah, and don't
forget, I do have my solo podcast, Master Toons Extended. Just check out my channel. Forget about that. Sorry, guys.
And I was looking at some of those. They have the Creator Studio on YouTube, right? And I was checking out some of those videos they have, and what they said to do was, give some verbal calls to action. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna make a call to action. I want you, yeah, that's right, you. I'm talking to you. To press that subscribe button, subscribe to our channel, and get tons of updates on your favorite podcast.
Like, favorite, subscribe,
share it, tell your mom about it, tell your grandma about it, tell your best friend, tell your dog.
Tell that hobo who's peeing in your trash can right now about it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Your friends don't have a laptop? Give them a laptop so they can watch our videos.
Little thing as well, this is your favorite podcast. Thank you, and you clearly haven't listened to many other podcasts. No offense, guys, no offense. It's just...
I'm just saying, look, we're small right now. Next 5 years, media empire. Just put that out.
Man, we're going to be drinking tea with Donald Trump.
This has been the Master Toons Podcast. See you next week.
See you next week, everybody. Oopla!